What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Temur Eldrazi Ramp featuring Portent of Calamity in Modern. So this video is going to be a little bit different than my usual gameplay video. As I was streaming, my memory drive filled up and became corrupted and I lost everything. So since I did 5-0 with the list, I wanted to showcase the games and go over the replays with you. First, let's go over the deck and talk about what the deck's trying to do. Starting with our lands, because we're a Temur deck, we have to have all our colors. So we have Stomping Ground and Breeding Pool as our shock lands. We're running 4 basic forests and 1 island, so Field of Ruin, Blood Moon, we got covered. Obviously, we're an Eldrazi deck, so we have 4 Temple, 4 Labyrinth, because we're trying to churn out our cards as fast as possible. And for our utility lands, we have Cavern of Souls, Hedge Maze, and Shifting Woodland. So Cavern of Souls is nice, it makes our Eldrazi uncounterable. We can get all of these lands with Sowing Mycospawn, which is why we can run one-ofs. Hedge Maze is nice because if we have nothing else going on, we can hope to surveil something to the top. And finally, we have Shifting Woodland. We can activate this card pretty easily because we're putting a lot of cards into our graveyard. We can copy the One Ring, we can copy Emrakul, it's pretty sweet. For our ramp, we have 4 Utopia Sprawl to go with our forests, we have 4 Talismans, and then we have 4 Rumbles. So all of these are considered ramp in our deck, trying to ramp into our payoffs. In our 3 slot, we have 2 Kozilek's Return. So this is a hedge against energy decks and small creature decks. We know energy is the most popular deck, so running these main isn't a big deal, and it can cover like a wide variety of decks. If you didn't want to run Kozilek's Return here, you could also run Trinisphere. For our 4 drops, we have 4 Mycospawn for 1 ring. This is a 1 ring deck, the best card in modern format. Always play your 1 rings if you can. Sowing Mycospawn can get our utility lands, it ramps us, and it can exile enemy lands. We have 3 Worldbreaker, 3 Devour, 1 All Is Dust. So these are our 7+ drops for Ugin's Labyrinth. We have 3 Worldbreaker. This is another good cast trigger card. It can go under Ugin's Labyrinth and as the threat we can keep getting back against control matchups. We have 3 Devourer of Destiny. We only have 3. You could run the set and get rid of All Is Dust. This is a pretty interchangeable spot. You don't even have to run any Devourer of Destiny. The last list we played had 0. We were kind of all in on Worldbreaker, Mycospawn, and some other threats, and it felt fine. But I do like Devourer because it helps filter out your upkeep. We have 3 Emrakul the Promised End. There's lists that run 3, there's some that run 4. You can choose what you want. We have 4 Kozilek's Command. Easily just like the most insane card in the deck. You can cast this at any time. The card is amazing at any point in the match. Good for exiling, good for ramping, good for finding your cards. Just insane. And then lastly, we have 2 Portent of Calamity. So this is a card we're trying today. Mono Blue Tron plays 4 of these. They love this card, so why not us? So it's X and a blue, and Portent says we can reveal the top X cards of our library. So if we can find 4 card types, we get to cast 1 for free. And we have a lot of card types, so if we can cast this for X equals 4, 5, 6-ish, we're usually able to cast maybe an Emrakul the Promised End for free, a free Worldbreaker, and you get to draw the other cards too. So it's a really good flexible card. It's pretty good throughout the entire match as well. Same with Kozilek's Command. So because we're Temur, we get to have a lot of flexibility in the sideboard. So this sideboard is tuned to what I think is good and what's good in the meta, and we're just trying to combat that. So we have 3 Consigned to Memory. This is good against Tron, Storm, any artifact decks, colorless decks. It's just an amazing card right now in the meta. We have 2 Surgical Extractions. So you can play Soulless Jailer, you can play Stonebrain here, you can play Unlicensed Hearse. I wanted to go with Surgical. It's a free spell, and it's good against Goryo's, it's good against Storm, good against graveyard decks in general, so I like Surgical Extraction right now. We have 3 Stone Rain, so I would love to play Charmal. We're Temur, we have red, but double red is really difficult to come by, especially early on. So we're settling for Stone Rain. We can turn 2 Stone Rain against Tron, against land decks, Amulet, so I'm fine with this. It's pretty sweet. We have additional 2 Kozilek's Return. I want 4 total in the deck. Again, energy is the most popular deck. Great against energy, good sweepers, play 4. Another flex spot that we have is Veil of Summer. So you don't have to play Veils. Our deck is pretty good into the control matchup, but I like 2. With Grief gone, it's not as important, but you bring this in against counter matchups, blue decks, some black decks if you need it. And then lastly, we have 3 Trinisphere. You guys know I love my prison pieces. If I could play Chalices and Trinispheres in this deck, I would, but we're just on 3 Trinispheres today. Good against Storm, good against low CMC decks. So that is Temur Eldrazi Ramp featuring Portent of Calamity in Modern. Again, please let me know what you think about this different kind of content in the comment section down below. If you guys do enjoy this sort of raw video replay footage, I would love to keep doing more. And lastly, if you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let's get into the gameplay. Alright, so this was match 1 against Tron. So our first 7, we definitely didn't keep this. We have a 1-lander. Definitely not keeping this on 7. We decided mulligan. This hand looks a little sketchy. We ended up keeping this. I think based off of turn 1 Utopia Sprawl into Talisman. We also didn't know what we were up against. You could easily go to 5 here. This could probably be kind of like a bad keep. So yeah, so we keep 6. Opponent reveals Devour. We see that they are on just Mono Green Tron with this, which is like a little unfortunate because our start is very, very slow. And they lead off on a power plant into a Chromatic Star. We draw Kozilek's Command. I think we just Utopia Sprawl. We name green. We don't need to name red because we're like not going to be casting Kozilek's Command. And because we already have the blue source in Talisman. So next turn, they crack that Stirrings. They find a tower, reveal tower, play the map. So we know they're going to have turn 3 Tron. And here we just Rumble or play Talisman, and then I think Stomping Ground into Rumble, revealing Emrakul, Talisman, and Utopia Sprawl. So no land, which sucks. We just take the Sprawl just for a ramp here, and then we just pass back. They have Natural Tron anyway, so they don't even need this map, which felt bad. They end up casting just a Devour, which isn't the worst thing that they could cast. We draw the Mycosynth, which is nice, but again, no land. So we put on Utopia Sprawl, like we said. And I think at this point, we're thinking to Rumble instead of Spawn, because I think the only way we can win is eating their Tron pieces. So we decide to hold up Kozilek's Command because we want to kick Mycospawn. We're so far behind that I feel like that's the only way to actually win. So they play Forest. What do they do? All right, so they main deck Kozilek's Command. They find a Karn the Great Creator, and we just like scoop to that because we're not beating that. I also F6 and didn't get the Kozilek's Command. I would have cast Kozilek's in response to the exiling of the token, and we probably could have got mana, maybe kicked Mycospawn, maybe an early concession looking back, but it's fine. All right, game 2 on the play this time. So we have a hand with these 3 lands and just nothing else going on. You guys could maybe have an argument for keeping this hand, just like turn 1 Temple, nothing, turn 2, like Talisman, turn 3, something, but I decided to ship this one. So this hand's a lot better. We have Emrakul with Ugin's Lab. We have end of turn Kozilek's Commands for ramping and hopefully find some other stuff. So we keep this. I think we've just been a Forest here. Yeah. They reveal Devour again. They reveal Devour every game too, which you're just like, come on. But we just go Emrakul. They reveal double Devour and they pitch 3 Oblivion Stones, Haywire Might. So this is all good Karn targets and stuff like that. And they pitched notably the Power Plant and the Mine, which comes into play later. So they play the Mine. We draw Consign to Memory. We play Untapped Breeding Pool. And I think we just Rumble main phase. You could hold up Kozilek's Command, but we want to ramp. I think you could do either thing, but because we're doing kind of nothing else, I think Rumble main is fine. And we find the land, which is nice, but can't really do much with it. So we decide to take the Talisman. Especially because we can play the Talisman here with the floating mana. Then we just ship that back, which is nice. It's nice that they go Boseiju our land. Like, it sucks that they Boseiju our Labyrinth, but like that's their play. So they ramp us. So we lose 1 mana, but they still kind of give us a mana back. And we get the Surveil land, which puts Mycosynth into the yard because we're looking for a land. We do draw the land, which is Labyrinth, which is really, which is Temple, which is fantastic here because now we get to ramp a bunch while holding up counter magic. And they're just stuck on these lands, which sucks for them. They do have the Power Plant, but we know they exiled a Power Plant and a Mine. So they Stirrings, find a One Ring, which is very nice consign target here. So we're going to end of turn Kozilek's Command, and we're going to X equals 3, scry, make dudes. Here we have a land that we've been missing, a Portent and a Talisman. So I'm not sure what we do there. I think we scry 2 top, 1 bottom. So I think we put the Talisman on the bottom and keep the Portent. So now we have access to either a huge Portent or just end of turn Kozilek's Command, which, because they're not doing anything, I don't mind holding up Consign because we know they have the One Ring in hand and they just happen to draw a Natural Tron again. So they start with Ancient Stirrings, they find an Ulamog, and then they're going to cast the One Ring that we have to counter, even though that we know they have an Ulamog, but we know that we have end of turn Kozilek's, and that's going to be just a huge payoff. So we easy counter there, crack Misty, go get a Forest. They have X equals 6, which is awesome. Like, right, there's no way we're losing here. We just reveal Consign, double Mycospawn, Stone Rain, World Breaker. It's just like, I think we do like all top, right? What do we not keep? We do 5 top, 1 bottom. And then here we can just double Stone Rain. Maybe I put the Portent on the bottom, but this is just like an easy Mycospawn, exile your land, and then go get a Temple, and then do it again. And this is where getting the ramp, getting the Mycospawns in this matchup is super important. And then they just concede here. All right, so that was game 2, but like that went perfectly. Just ramping into Mycospawns. And then this is game 3. These are like really interesting hands. So this is a hand similar to that first hand in the second game where opponent mulligan to 6. We have 2 really great lands, but no green sources. Well, no immediate green sources for this. We can always talisman into it, but just no payoffs. So nothing for Ugin's Lab, nothing for Temple. So we just decided to throw this back. And you guys let me know if you would keep these hands, but I'm kind of confident with these. This hand isn't the greatest. Just 2 lands and just really nothing going on until turn like 3. Well, turn 2 because we can hold up consign, but it's a little slow, but we're not going to go to 5 with this hand. So we do decide to keep this, and I think we just pitch the other talisman, which makes sense. Opponent mulligans to 4, which again is bad for them, but they're also on Tron, so and they reveal Devour, so they can also just win out of nowhere. So we're on like a weak 6 to their potentially strong 4 with Devour. And they exile these lands and map, and then just go map, star, pass. So we draw Rumble, we just go Temple, go. Pretty easy. They crack star. Like they could have stirrings, they could have scrying. They have the scrying, so they get another Tron piece. Comes to our turn, we draw Kozilek's Command, which is a fantastic draw, especially because we have double Temple, and then we just pass. So we get an end of turn, X equals 2. I like this play. You could play a talisman and hold up consign as another play as well, but I think this, because they're kind of on the back foot here, they're not going to have Tron. I think this is the better play. So they just play the tower. They play maps, and now we know that they're going to have Tron next turn. So look at that, multi 4, turn 4 Tron, no big deal. And we also do this as well because it sets us up for a nice world breaker on their Tron piece. So we X equals 2. I remember them cracking the map in response to this, which I think is weird. I don't think they need to do that. So they find the mine, because they find the 3rd Tron piece, that like makes our job easier because we're like, oh, they have the mine now. We just blow up this instead of them waiting, cracking to find that same Tron piece because they're going to be less likely to find it later. We reveal Rumble and Misty. I think we keep the Misty and Rumble goes to the bottom. Definitely want to hit that land drop. And we untap. We have 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's why we keep the Misty. So we have an easy world breaker here. We shock this in. Our life total doesn't matter. We want that blue source, even though we want it without having to play Talisman for consign. So easy world breaker. You guys think we hit the power plant or the tower? If you guys know why, feel free to leave a comment in the section down below. I'm not going to tell you, but you should know why. Or I'll tell you at maybe later. So we hit the power plant. Now they're kind of stuck. They have the mine in hand. They play the mine that they found, and they just pass. So that's just like huge right there. We draw Emrakul. We can't cast it. We're not close to casting it. So we get in for 5. And I think what do? We deploy both talismans, I think. And we deploy them this way, so that way we have blue mana open for consign. So I like this play. Just in case like they go land ring or something like that. They go sphere. We're not going to counter anything that's not like maybe map or ring. Saga's potentially annoying. And they go Stonebrain, which is very interesting. We could have countered this. We could have used consign on this, but to me, if they're going to spend their turn Stonebraining whatever they want here, they're losing on board. So we are totally fine with Stonebrain. We draw another World Breaker, which is hilarious. We get in for 5. And again, if we wanted to kill that Stonebrain, we would hit it right now. But what do we hit? Let's see. So it's between Tron piece and Saga. Saga can be annoying later, but if they find the 3rd Tron piece, it could be kind of awkward. So let's see what we hit. We decide to hit the mine. So that's the piece that they last searched for. So we value them top ducking Tron over just Urza Saga. Again, if they're making constructs, then they're not using Stonebrain. They're not casting their spells. It's fine. So they play a tower. So this is where I'm kind of sad. I remember this. We tapped out for World Breaker, and then they play a land and play the One Ring. So we don't have consign up for this, which kind of stinks because this is the game right here. So you're like, okay. So they draw with the One Ring. So now we're going to start digging with Rumble. We can't cast Emrakul and target them because they're untargetable with the One Ring, and this targets opponent. We find our own ring, but we decide to take shifting. So the reason we do that is because I'm trying to remember why we did this. Because we could play our own One Ring. So it was either between the One Ring or shifting. I think because I'm not 100% sure why. Like we could cast the One Ring here and hold up consign, but that's okay. I think we're pretty far ahead to where maybe I was thinking about like copying something in the yard. I'm not sure, but we have consign up. The only way that they can win is if they just chain rings together. They find a map, they draw with the One Ring, So here's the game ending here. So they play the other One Ring, and this is an easy consign. And we're going to, because we're not casting anything else, we can just replicate for just safety reasons. No reason not to. And then they concede because they're dead on board. So this was just kind of like a dead draw for them. I don't think that they should be bringing this in. There's really nothing they can target that we really care about. So nice. All right, now we're into match 2. And let's see. We have this hand of 3 lands, Utopia Sprawl, double Utopia Sprawl, the One Ring, and Emrakul. So this is a really easy keep. We have Ugin's Lab paired with Emrakul, and we have Utopia Sprawl with Forest, so that's an easy turn 2 ring. Definitely keeping that hand. Opponent mulligans to 5. So this is actually a funny game. I kind of feel bad for the opponent here, and you guys will see why in a bit. So they mulligan to 5, and I'm going to say they're going to play their favorite cards 4 times. Ready? So Swamp, we're like, oh no. But then they play Inquisition. So it's like, all right, which Utopia Sprawl do you want? They take Utopia Sprawl and then just pass the turn. We draw another Utopia Sprawl. So Thoughtseize Bug confirmed. And this is just easy Forest Utopia Sprawl. So you could argue playing Ugin's Lab Emrakul. So that way they can't take the Emrakul with like Thoughtseize or something. But if they're going to Thoughtseize us and they take Emrakul, we're fine with that because we can just play the One Ring. So like it's a win-win for us. If they Thoughtseize us, they take the One Ring, then we just have no payoffs. So that's okay. So we pass the turn. They play another Inquisition. Obviously they're taking Utopia Sprawl. They're stuck on 1 land and they pass the turn. So we're going to have a turn 2 ring and they're on 1 land. So this is a pretty easy game. We draw Kozilek's Command, which is an amazing draw. And can you guys guess what they do next? They do nothing. Okay, so they didn't draw a land. They have no 1-mana spells in hand that they can cast. Maybe like a Fatal Push or something. We draw Cavern. We draw with the One Ring. Not really good draws. Not the worst, but pretty easy. Pass, hold up Kozilek's Command. Now, I wonder what they do. They cast Thoughtseize. So we're going to, in response, cast Kozilek's Command pretty easily. X equals 3. And we're going to scry, make spawn. And then we want to make sure that whatever we put in our hand isn't the best, so that way they don't Thoughtseize it. But because these 3 cards are just so bad, we decided to just bottom all of them and just kind of risk it. And we draw a Temple, which is whatever. They're obviously going to take Devour here, which is fine. And then we have the One Ring to draw into threats. We have just draw steps. We have a lot of mana, so we can win no matter what. We draw Ugin's Lab, which isn't good. And then we draw another Kozilek's and another One Ring. So we play the Temple. And this is just going to be another end of turn Kozilek's Command. We don't have to like rush about anything. We don't have to play out Talisman. We don't have to like do anything. We have 7 cards in hand. And then they play the 4th hand disruption spell, which is a Thoughtseize. So repeat, we're going to Kozilek's Command again. And then again, make sure you use your spawn tokens if you're going to be making more spawn. They just kind of recycle themselves. And now we're X equals 8, which is insane. So looking at this, we're going to keep Promise End, World Breaker, and just kind of eat their 1 land. So we do... So what I meant to do, which is I messed up. I wanted to keep Emrakul on top and then World Breaker, but I accidentally switched the 2. So now I drew World Breaker and I put 6 to the bottom and then I kept Promise End and World Breaker on top. So obviously they're going to Thoughtseize the World Breaker now. So we do that. Again, it's not the biggest deal. And then they just concede anyway. Again, misclick. Definitely want to draw the World Breaker next turn if like we needed to just to kill this 1 land. But we can always get World Breaker back, do it again, and it's fine. All right, so game 2. Again, that was just like a freebie, stuck on 1 land. Now this hand is pretty insane. We have Ugin's Lab paired with All Is Dust or World Breaker. We have turn 1 Curiosity, turn 2 Ring again. Pretty awesome. So they play Bogart, Bog, tapped, and passed. So I'd love to see that. I'm glad they don't like... I mean, I guess Thoughtseize we wouldn't really care because we have 2 7-drops, but we play the Ugin's Lab. We decided to put in World Breaker underneath instead of All Is Dust because I feel like I'm going to want All Is Dust more in this matchup than World Breaker. You could argue that they might have Damping Sphere and World Breaker might be better, but we still don't even know what they're on at this point. We assume it's Necrodominance, but we just didn't see anything. So this kind of covers everything. This could be also like the Witch combo and stuff like that. So I think this hits more things. So they go turn 2, Break the Ice. They were playing like they had it, and they definitely had it. So breaking the ice. So we got Broke the Ice on our Ugin's Lab, which feels bad. But again, this was kind of expected with the way they were playing. So now Our turn 2 Ring Dream is gone. We draw Portent, which is not very good. And we just send it back. We're not going to Portent for 1. We're not under any pressure, so fortunately they draw a land and just pass. So now we have to decide if we want to Portent for 2 or play a Mycospawn and ramp. So what do we decide? We decide to ramp. Because they're hitting their land drops and we want to continue to hit our land drops just in case they cast Break the Ice again, I think this is a fine play. We're not worried about kicking it and eating their land. So we go get another temple, right? And then just pass the turn. End of turn, they march, pitching Fatal Push. So they go up to 24. And again, that's a fine exchange. They gain a few life, they ditch 2 cards, and we're up a card. We're up a land, and they're down a card. So that's just a great exchange there, especially against a black deck. And they go 4 mana into Shieldred. So you're like, oh no. But then you realize we have All Is Dust. So that's a clutch play there, not pitching All Is Dust to Ugin's Lab. So we're going to take 2 from Shieldred, easy play land, and then just All Is Dust and pass the turn. And that's pretty much the game from there. Opponent just goes land go for a bunch of turns. Here we're going to slam the 1 ring, right? Draw with it. We have protection now. Always playing around Bowmasters, making sure to have the protection resolve. And then I think, yeah, we play the Talisman and just pass the turn, right? So we're all set. We have lands. All we need to do is draw threats. And they play Phyrexian Tower and just pass the turn. So we draw a Veil, which is fine. Like, we don't, like, that's not kind of not the card we need right now just because they're doing absolutely nothing, but it's like a nice safety card. So opponent says, love drawing 3 lands in a row, hee hee, which, I mean, I feel for him, but, and then here, we're going to hold up Veil of Summer, but we're going to cast a big Portent here. Just play it safe, no reason, we're so far ahead, there's no reason to take any risks. So we cast Portent for 6, and then we hit Emrakul, Kozilek's, Talisman, and 3 Sprawls. The 3 Sprawls are a little sketch, but more importantly, we hit 4 types. If you exiled 4 more card types this way, you can cast one of them from your hand. So obviously Emrakul, this is a nice draw 4, and then we get to cast Emrakul for free. We take their turn even though they're not doing anything. So let's see. I think this is a funny one. Yeah, so they have Bogart and Soul Spike. So they actually have exactly enough to hard cast Soul Spike. So we're going to shock in Bogart and Soul Spike themselves, which is neutral because they deal 4 and gain 4. So it just kind of empties their hand. Now they have to deal with Emrakul. I don't think we just like, all right, let's see what they do. I think they draw something decent. Oh, yeah, look what they draw here, which is hilarious. And this is why this deck is really powerful. Because they top deck Break the Ice, so they overload that, but the only thing they hit are 2 temples. And you're like, okay. So they overload that, pass. I think what do we do? Honestly, I think we just attack and pass. Yeah, like, we're not worried about, like, we're going to win. We have 2 Veils, Kozilek's Command. They play a Bogart, we Veil it, and then they just scoop to that. So they didn't draw very well. We drew pretty well, and they just had no chance. So that's match 2. All right, now match 3, we're against Ilduendo. We play against them fairly often, so we assume that they're going to be on an aggro deck. Usually we're on like a prison deck with Trinispheres and Chalices, so we're on a slower deck, so I'm a little reluctant, but fortunately we open up with a lot of removal here. So we're going to keep this hand. I wouldn't keep this hand. I don't know. This is like a close one. If I didn't know, or if I didn't assume that they were on aggro, like they revealed Gigantha, so they're either on energy or prowess. So that makes Kozilek's Return a lot more enticing. Kozilek's Command for the exile effect more enticing. We don't have red yet, but we decide to keep this hand. They say good lunch, have fries. So you know we're on good terms there. And I think they just lead off. We'll just skip through that. They lead off on a Surveil land, which we love to see. No turn 1 plays. We draw a Sprawl, which is fantastic because we get to put that on red. And I'm going to preface this specific game with, I was very sad at the conclusion, and you guys will see why. So they go Stomping Ground, and then they what's it called? They plot a Slick Shot. So that's like the worst case scenario. We draw a World Breaker, which is whatever. And then we're just going to pass. We're going to hold up Kozilek's. We're going to hold up K Return. And then this is where I think they go nuts. So they play Slick Shot. They play Raptor. They reveal a Discharge, which they cast just to get the energy and trigger Slick Shot. They go to attacks, and we know that they're going to kind of pop off here. So here's the thing. We probably should have, like, looking back, again in hindsight, we could have just Kozilek's Returned instead of, like, K-commanded, but I think we wanted to ramp. So let's see what we do again. So we do Kozilek's. So we don't ramp. We actually scry. So looking back, I think I scryed because I wanted to hit my land drops, which I think is fine. And we draw one ring. So we could K return or do what I did and try to hit that land drop. So I'm fine with that play. We can also save this for if they go a little wider. We do take 2. Like, we look so far ahead. We miss our land drop, but we still look far ahead because we have another Kozilek's Command. We have double K return. Like, we're sitting really pretty here. Like, how could we lose this, right? They decide to go land into Amulet. So this is where it all goes to hell. They reveal Lava Dart, which, like, their Lava Darts this game are just insane. So we decide to Kozilek's Return just to save life. We have 2. We finally draw the land. And then what do we get? We get like a forest into the 1 ring, pretty easy 1 ring. And then we pass. We draw a talisman. They suspend another Slick Shot. So they're drawing pretty well also. But like, we don't care about Slick Shot. We have Kozilek's Return, Kozilek's Command. Like, everything's good. How could we lose this game? All right, we lose 1 from the 1 ring. All right, so that skipped through a little bit. For some reason, it was kind of not working here. But essentially, we tap the 1 ring. We played a land, and they decided, like, end step, we're going to hold up Kozilek's Command, and then end step, they Lava Darted, and we took 2 from that because of Unstable Amulet and Lava Dart. So now they have Swift Spear underneath. They cast Slick Shot, which triggers Amulet, and now they have another Amulet. So they cast the other Amulet, they tap it, they draw a Mountain. This they get in for 3. Again, how could we lose here? We have an easy Kozilek's Command. So we're casting Kozilek's Command here. We're going to exile and just make spawn. So now we have a bunch of potential blockers. We have all this mana. We have Emrakul. We have a huge portent coming up. The Unstable Amulets. So they decide to post-combat put Swift Spear into play, which is a little sketch. So they cast Swift Spear. They activate it again, and they find another Lava Dart. So this counts as 1, 2, 3. This counts as like a lightning bolt. So it sucks because it counts as a lightning bolt here. So they're going to be doing so much damage. So they ping us for 3 here. We're at 9. Essentially 7 with the 1 ring. So we go to 6. And then look at this right here. The 2 Lava Darts in the graveyard. 6 more damage. So we'll fast forward. They go Lava Dart, put us to 3. Lava Dart, kill us. Which is like insane. I was not expecting that, but they drew really well here with double Lava Dart, double Unstable Amulet, and we just had it all otherwise. So this just kind of goes to show that this deck can just kind of pop off, and you're not always safe even with these like perfect hands here, or not perfect, but really good hands. All right, so game 2, a little shaken up. We're like, how did we lose that game? We're on the play. I guess we haven't really talked about sideboarding, but I guess last match we brought in Veils, obviously. This match we're bringing in Trinispheres and more Kozilek's Returns. So more removal, more Prison-y pieces. This hand has the Trinisphere, has the Forest, has the Utopia Sprawl, very easy keep. And we have Devour as well. So we're going to keep this, reveal Devour. We have Misty, 1 ring, 1 ring. I forget what we keep. I think we keep a 1 ring. But this is pretty easy. Play Utopia Sprawl, set up for turn 2 Trinisphere. And I think they just go land go. They go bauble, I think. Yeah, they go double bauble. And then here we just have an easy play. Easy turn 2 Trinisphere. We pass the turn. I think they concede here. Yeah, they just concede. So again, looking for Trinispheres, looking for our sideboard pieces. This is one of the best cards against them. It's like impossible for them to beat this card otherwise. All right, so game 3, we have this is like a similar hand. So we have double Trinisphere. We have turn 2 Trinisphere again. We decide to keep just because it's such a backbreaking card. They go bauble, surveil land. We draw a Temple, which will be nice later, as long as we draw like a threat or something like that. But this is just easy, same play. Utopia Sprawl. They draw Amulet, which it's not an immediate threat, so I don't mind right now, but we're still a little scarred from game 1. And then we're just going to go Temple into Trinisphere. They find a Lava Dart again, which is insane that they keep finding this because this is like so much damage in one little thing. But now we have Trinisphere out, so they go land, Amp Raptor. They reveal another Amp Raptor, but what's so cool about Trinisphere is that it shuts off Amp Raptor. So not only does it kind of shut off their deck, but it also shuts off the pseudo cascade effects. We draw Shifting Woodland. We play the Shifting Woodland. We could play Misty Crack as well, but this just saves us life, and we're going to end of turn Kozilek's Command. So their Arena of Glory stays tapped. They play Stomping Ground. They play the Lava Dart, which costs 3 mana. Pings us for 2, and they draw again with Unstable Amulet. We end of turn. well, we don't end up turn. Actually, mid-combat, we decide to make spawn and scry. And then we just chump with the Amp Raptor just because we don't necessarily need the mana and I want to keep my life total high. So we draw the Rumble. You could argue just taking 2, like it's not that big of a deal. But because we draw the One Ring, I want to conserve as much life as possible. And we cast the One Ring. So now we have protection. We draw another ring, which is nice. And then we actually hedge maze and surveil a Kozilek's return on the top of our library. So now this is an interesting play. So they play Pick Your Poison. Fortunately, we have the One Ring, we have Trinisphere, so this is an easy sack the One Ring. And they can't do anything, so they pass the turn. We have another One Ring. We draw the Kozilek's return that we knew about. So let's see if what we do here. We could play the One Ring, we could Rumble, we could play a second Trinisphere. I think we just decide to play the One Ring, yeah. It plays around another Pick Your Poison. They can't attack for a turn. We can draw more cards, so that's fine. And we draw with it, right? We draw another Emrakul. And we decide to Rumble as well. So we Rumble, we find a World Breaker, and we just kind of cycle that spawn. So now they're almost dead. Okay, so they play Meltdown for 3. Meltdown X equals 3. So it kills their Amulet, and it kills our Trinisphere. But now it unlocks their hand, and we know that they have a lot of 1-drops in hand. So it's a little scary. But now we have a lot of mana. Let's see what we draw. I hate this program. 2024, and it just doesn't work like the way you want it to. There we go. All right, we draw a World Breaker. I'm just going to skip through. I think we just hard cast an Emrakul. They bolt us, they Lava Dart us, they Lava Dart us, they Lava Dart us. They Mutagetic. So they empty their entire hand. So they cast all these spells. We draw a Devour with a One Ring. We take their turn. They have Tarfire in hand. It's pretty easy. Just attack into Emrakul, Tarfire themselves, and then we leave them with nothing in hand. So they're dead next turn if there's nothing they can draw to get out of this, and then they just concede. So again, in this matchup, you want Trinispheres, you want removal with Kozilek's Return, Kozilek's Command, anything like that against Prowess. All right, match 4. We're on the draw again. I think we're on the draw a lot this league. So this hand is Breeding Pool, Misty, Double Rumble, and World Breaker. Would you guys keep this hand? No, it does nothing. It's too slow. So we decided to throw it back, looking for just kind of, we need our fast mana with this deck. So this hand is fine. I think we decided to keep this one because we have Temple and Kozilek's Command. We put back Emrakul just because it's so expensive, but you could also keep it and try to high roll Ugin's Labyrinth. So they go Carplusion Forest and we're like, oh no, please no Through the Breach. But then they go Zabaz into Welding Jar and you're like, yes. So dodge Through the Breach, which is nice. We draw Portent, which isn't very good. We just go Temple Go. What's also amazing, and you guys will see throughout the match, Kozilek's Command against Welding Jar is just like amazing interaction. This card does nothing against us. It helps with Kozilek's Return, but like Kozilek's Command does nothing. So they just play Urza Saga. We skipped through it a little bit, but they decided to Besiege our Temple, which sucks, but it's not the worst because we didn't have anything exiled underneath of it. But it does slow us down. It takes us down to 1 mana, but we did get to Surveil, and we surveilled Portent. Oh no, what did we surveil on top? Did we keep Portent? Yeah, I guess we kept Portent. I don't know why we kept Portent. So we shock this in. Just kidding. We play a tap land. But yeah, now they have 2 Urza Sagas, which is scary because they can start making constructs, and they just pass the turn. So we know they're going to start making constructs here. But now we have a little sequencing that we can do. So some good sequencing here. Fortunately, they don't use the Welding Jar. And even if they did, so we put them in a position to where it's a lose-lose for them. So right now, they're going to make a construct, and we know that. So this is going to be for 3. So with Kozilek's Return, no matter what we do, both of these are going to die. So even if they use this, it's like a kind of a waste. Like it would save 1. So they decided to not use it. So both of them die just because of state-based actions. We do that there just because if they make another construct, then they get too big. So they decide to make another construct. I think they could get Basilisk Collar, which is cool to see. They play an Inkmoth Nexus, and then they just send it back. We draw Ugin's Lab, which sucks because we don't have a payoff for it. No 7-drop. But what do we do here? Do we just go Talisman Go, right? Or do we go, we actually go Portent here. I'm kind of surprised, like looking back, we go Portent instead of holding up Kozilek's Command. I feel like looking here, I'd almost want to hold up Kozilek's Command on this because we know that they're going to go equip. I don't know. We find Rumble and Talisman, so it's just like a 2 mana draw 2 or 3 mana draw 2. Yeah, I don't know about that, but we just send it back. Maybe I'm like, we just take the turn off and find some things. I don't know if we were maybe looking for a 7-drop. I'm not sure. but they find another Welding Jar with Urza's Saga, and then they play a Ballista, X equals 1, and they equip Walking Ballista. So they get it for 5 here. We go down to 13. We draw what would be a blank, but because we have Ugin's Lab, it's actually a fantastic draw. So we get to play Ugin's Lab and put Devour underneath of it. So now we just send it back, holding up both K commands. So let's see what we do here. We definitely don't want to get hit by this. So they play Innkeeper's Talent, which is a new Bloomsburrow card. It's kind of cute in this deck because it puts +1/+1 counters and gives them ward at some point. Before this resolves, we decide to Kozilek's Command. I think I misread this, and I thought that this would have ward, but that's level 2. So I definitely misread that, but it doesn't, it's like fine. It's not like a mistake necessarily. I just think it could have better timing. So we actually decide to exile the Walking Ballista because this doesn't have trample. So we exile the Walking Ballista, or we go to, they ping us for 1, and then Innkeeper's Talent resolves. So now we have all these chump blockers. This puts a +1 counter on it. They get in, oh, actually, they skip through their attack step. I think that was a mistake. Like, obviously, they should have attacked. So they just, like, fat-fingered that, it seemed. We draw the forest here, so that's a land drop that we get to make. But I think we decide to main phase. We decide to main phase, so we play the forest, and then we decide to main phase Kozilek's Command for 5. So we do it for 5 only because we don't want to... Because we're exiling this construct, so we don't want to use all the spawn tokens. If we were making spawns, we'd do the whole thing. So I was doing it for 5 to maybe draw something, and then have both colored sources of mana open just in case. So we find some good cards here. So let's see. I think what do we do? 3 top, 2 bottom. So we draw like the 1 ring. I think we draw Portent as well. Here we just play the 1 ring out pretty easily. And then we draw the Emrakul. Okay, so we have Emrakul on top. So now next turn, we can hard cast Emrakul. An opponent has nothing going on. They play a Walking Ballista, X equals 2, and then they put a counter on it with Innkeeper's Talent. And we get to untap and just slam Emrakul here. And then they're going to use the Walking Ballista. So we trigger Kozilek's Return, which they ping in response. We say no to that trigger because we don't want to waste it, and then just pass it back. So we're at 8 life. We have the win here. We don't need to be drawing cards just in case they, for some reason... could do something. I don't know. If like they top deck a Walking Ballista and we're kind of getting pinged here, we have the win. We don't need to draw more cards, in my opinion. So we take their turn. They have Hangerback and Saga. So we get to do some cute stuff here. So we activate Inkmoth Nexus, which it could activate itself. We don't have to tap extra mana, but it's fine. We play Hangerback for 0. Triggers, doesn't matter. We activate the other Inkmoth using itself. And then we sacrifice. So we sacrifice it to Phyrexian Tower. But what we should have done was wait for this trigger to resolve, put it on the other one, and then sacrifice it because we attack. We block with Emrakul, but then it has counters on it. So we didn't need to have counters on it. But we get rid of both Inkmoth Nexuses. We get rid of both jars, and then just pass the turn. They play Saga into Zabaz. They trigger this. It has Ward 1. So here's an interesting interaction as well. So I think we draw Worldbreaker here. No Worldbreaker. We draw Worldbreaker at some point. What do we do here? Is it... Oh, we cast a big Calamity into Worldbreaker. But because we tapped out, we're going to cast it for free anyway. So we revealed all the permanents. We're going to cast it for free, but it sucks it has Ward 1. So it fizzles. Ward 1, we can't pay for it. We can't kill their Saga. Again, because permanents you control with counters on them have Ward 1. So... we could have just targeted anything else. So that was a mistake on our part. They play another Zabaz, and then they just equip and then pass back. They put the counter on it again. We have the 1 ring. Again, we're not drawing cards with the 1 ring. We don't need to. We'll just pass through this. We attack here just because it has flying, and we don't want to have them gain lifelink. It doesn't matter. And then we win. All right, so for game 2, I guess we haven't really been talking about sideboarding as much, but I brought in 3 Consign and an additional Kozilek's Return. Took out an Emrakul because it's a little slow. All it does nothing, but kind of anything but for Ugin's Lab. And then 2 Rumble, just because, again, a little slow, not the greatest. So we're on the draw here. We reveal a pretty crazy hand with double Ugin's Lab, double 7+ drop, and then removal, green source. Like, this is an easy keep. So we keep this. Opponent leads off on Inkmoth and Zabaz. We have Devour. Not sure what we choose here. Let's say. I'm not sure what we pick. Definitely not Ugin's Lab. Either, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. All right, we do take the other Mycospawn. I wasn't sure if we were going to get another land, like a colored land source, or because we have the talisman that we just go ham on the Mycospawns. So here we just put in Devour, play talisman, and pass pretty easily. The next turn they go Carplusian Forest. Oh, right. So they Besage again on their turn 2. This one hurts worse because it's not a temple. Now we get like hit with the Ugin's Lab Exile. So fortunately for us, we do Hedge Maze. We keep a card on top, so we keep Utopia Sprawl on top in order to like keep our ramp up. But we do get to play Ugin's Lab. We put Emrakul underneath. So now we have 3, 4, 5 mana. And then we're going to Utopia Sprawl into that. So now we have 4 mana. We could cast a Mycospawn and ramp more, but we're going to hold up Kozilek's Command instead because we really want to kick this, especially into this. And then end of turn, we can ramp and kick anyway. So second Besage, you're like, what the hell? So in response, we're going to float mana. We're going to get what do we get here? We're going to get a red source because we already have the blue and green here. We're going to wait until they cast something else. So they cast a Ballista. Now we have to decide if we want to exile this or just ramp and scry. Let's see what we do. We just ramp and scry. So we find another Mycospawn, Utopia Sprawl, and Promised End. I think we bottom all of these. We do. We bottom all 3 and we find another Kozilek's Command, which is sweet. So definitely rewarded for that. They get him for 1. We don't block. And then we are rewarded with an Eldrazi Temple, which is huge. It's a land drop and it's the best one. It's definitely literally the best card we could have gotten here with this hand. So now Urza Saga is tapped. Definitely going to kick a Mycospawn here. I love kicking Mycospawns. So this is just like an easy, let's skip through that. Just an easy exile that, find a temple, pass the turn, and then we're just going to do it again and again and again. So they do play the Copperline Gorge. They ping Mycospawn, and then I'm like, what could they have that could go with this ping? And then they play Modern All-Star Whip Flare. So 2 damage to each non-artifact creature. So this is a nice board wipe against the energy decks, and it doesn't hit their own stuff. So they plan on killing all of this. So obviously in response, we're going to float. We're going to scry exile. We're going to scry and make spawn after that resolves. We're not going to exile this. We don't really care about this. We have another one anyway. Or well, we're using it, but we don't really care to exile this. And then we find a third Kozilek's Command, which is nice. I think we bottom top. Let's see. Yeah, we bottom the what's it called? And then we top Portent and Kozilek's Command. So they're going to get him for 1 again. Down to 14. Draw the Calamity. So here we have 2 plays. We can Sowing Mycospawn to ramp again. We could hold up Kozilek's Command. We could cast Kozilek's Command and just find something insane. Or we can cast Portent of Calamity. I think, let's see what we do. Okay, I guess we decide to Kozilek's Command, which is the safest play. Definitely the safest play. Portent's the most fun. And then Mycospawn's pretty medium. So they play Patchwork. We don't care. And they play Welding Jar. We don't care. They attack for 1 again. We go to Chump, sacrifice in response. All right, well, that went through really quickly. So we actually, sorry about that. We top 5 and bottom 4. We find Consign, Kozilek's, and I forget what else. I forgot that went through so quickly. Now we have, there was like an Emrakul and stuff too, but because we have Emrakul here, we decide to just intend on casting it. So here we just hard cast Emrakul. And then we make sure to hold up Talisman for Consign for whatever reason. Not for whatever reason, for whatever something they may cast in the future. There's no reason to tap out for that. So we cast Emrakul. We take their turn. They sacrifice everything. They sacrifice Welding Jars, Abaz, all the Patchwork. Their hand is Phyrexian Tower. So now we get to do the same fun stuff again. We get to attack into Emrakul. So Emrakul. And then we get to Inkmoth, Phyrexian Tower. Activate Inkmoth, sacrifice it. They're down a land. They have 1 card in hand. And it is a Springleaf Drum. We're not going to counter that with Consign. We don't even do anything else. We literally just attack. We don't K-Command. We don't have the 1 ring. We're just trying to just finish the game. Again, optimal play, cast all these spells. But because we already know we're far ahead, they play Patchwork. We Consign it just because we're not doing anything else. Attack with everything. And we win. All right, so now we're on to the trophy match. This is against Boros Energy, which always seems to be the boogeyman of the league. They revealed Gigantha. So instantly, I think we have double Kozilek's Return. We have Devourer of Destiny. We don't have any colored sources, but we're already pre-boarded, so I'm definitely keeping this hand. There's no way I'm going to mulligan. Like, this could randomly be Storm. It could also maybe be Domain, but I decided to keep. I think just, even if it isn't Boros Energy and these aren't the greatest cards, we still have Temple and Devour, which I think is fine. So they just go Turn 1 Plains, Ocelot. We're super excited. We have our sideboard cards already in our hand, and we find Misty, Talisman, Utopia Sprawl, and Utopia Sprawl. So obviously not taking Sprawls here. I don't know if we land on Talisman. No, we definitely don't do Talisman. Yeah, Misty, because we would do Talisman if we already had the Ugin's Lab potentially. But this is just easy Utopia Sprawl on red. So now we have Kozilek's all wrapped up. They go land go. Oh, so they go Plains into Static Prison, which totally ruins our whole vibe here. Because now we don't have red. We were gonna Kozilek's return this turn just to make sure they don't get out of hand. So we're like, come on. We do play the Temple, and then we pass. So they end of turn Surveil. We have Kozilek's command for the cat if we need it. They play Aether Hub. So we were excited because we're like, this is only going to last for a little bit, but they play Aether Hub, which makes it even worse. And then they go, is this Flage? Oh, Blood Moon, that's right. So they go Blood Moon, and it's like, of course, they just have this like sick curve into the 1 or 2 of Blood Moon. So in response, we're going to Kozilek's command. So here's the thing. We can either kill this cat or we can scry and make a spawn. So I think we scry and make spawn because we're going to have red mana now. So we don't need to exile this because we're just going to K-return it anyway. And that's what we do. We definitely bottom that and we draw a Devour, which sucks. So our hand is pretty garbage. We're looking for lands. We have double Kozilek's return at least. So we're not going to jump block. We can hold this up. I don't think we draw a land this time either. Oh, we do. Okay, cool. So we draw a land. So now we don't have to waste this, but we're going to anyway because it's going to die to Kozilek's return, and we can just hold up a mana regardless. So we send it back. Static Prison, still ticking down. I think we get that back at some point. I think they Flage, yeah, so they Flage and they target this token, trying to keep us off mana. We'll just skip through it. They Flage, we sack it so that they don't gain life. They go to attack, and we Kozilek's return. So now, board's empty. We draw Talisman, which is fantastic. So we're like, oh, we have a waste. We have a colorless source here. So we're going to play that out and just pass. So we're ramping into like a Mycospawn, so that way we can play more spells and all that. Hopefully they don't have another Static Prison for this Talisman. They go Amp Raptor into, what do you guys think they hit? Oh, Galvanic Discharge. I thought they hit the Static Prison. So they discharge for 0, but now, oh, there it is. There's the Static Prison, right? Yeah, so they have the Static Prison in hand, and now they have 4, they got more energy from the discharge, so now they have a boatload. So we're not going to get these back anytime soon, but because they have to pay 2 energy each turn, we get them back relatively quickly. They send it back. We draw a land, which is good. So now we have 4 mana. We have to decide if we want to hold up Kozilek's return or cast Mycospawn. And I think we cast Mycospawn here, which I think is the right play because they only have 1 creature and we want to kind of excel our board to get all his dust mana to wipe the board. They continue to pay for Static Prism, and then they play another Raptor. So now they have 3 Amp Raptors, which is just easy food for Kozilek's return. So we do cast Mycospawn. Okay. So we decided to cast it because we're ramping into all his dust. That's what it is. I wasn't sure if we were going to Kozilek's and then attack, swing in, or just try to keep ramping and then hope to hit lands. So they pay for both Static Prisons. They play a Guide of Souls. So I'm glad I didn't cast Kozilek's return. So now they actually, I forget if they waste. I think they do. So we block like this, and then they use Guide of Souls. What do they do here? I forget. Oh, they stomp this. Okay. So they stomp it and then First Strike gets it, but then the other one dies, which is fine with us because now we get to, we don't draw a land, we draw Emrakul, which again, is not very good right now. We just need 1 land. So this is an easy Kozilek's return main phase to get rid of Guide of Souls mostly and then get him for 3. And we know that it's not going to kill Bone Crusher, so we don't care about that. The Static Prisons are still being paid for. And then they cast the Johnny and they pass the turn. So we're desperately looking for a land here. And we find the Talisman, which is so close. So we play the Talisman and then just pass. So we're just like waiting. They pay for prison for, I think, just 1. Yeah, so they give us Utopia Sprawl back and they keep the Talisman. They want to keep us off of wastes, double wastes. They attack with just the cat. We could block there and then they flip a Johnny, but then they just make a cat and ping us anyway. So it's like kind of the same difference, 2 damage here versus 2 damage there. So we just decide not to block because we know we're going to all his dust. We draw the 1 ring, all his dust, get him for 3. The only bad part about all his dusting is that now they have Flage mana. So I think we'll skip through this. I think they just hardcast Flage here. Kill Sowing Mycospawn. But we have Devour, we have Emrakul. It's just like nothing matters right now. We draw another One Ring. What's cool is that we can cast Emrakul and the One Ring, so that's what we do. Let's see. Cast Emrakul, and they just concede to Emrakul, but we would do that, cast that. We could also cast Devour, exile this, would also get the concession because they have nothing else in their graveyard. It's like, you can win so many different ways. All right, so game 2, we sideboard in 2 more Kozilek's returns and 1 Trinisphere. And then we side out an Emrakul and 2 Portent, because Portent's really slow in this matchup. Emrakul's kind of slow in this matchup too. So we bring in the removal and just 1 Trinisphere being on the draw instead of the play. So this hand is really good. We have Ugin's Lab. We can tuck Emrakul. We have turn 1 Curiosity. We have Devour. This hand's like fantastic. So definitely easy keep. And they just go Surveil Land into Flooded Strand. We have Devour. I don't think we reveal anything good. Oh, we do. I think we take the... Do we take the Forest here? I think we take the Forest. We do. Okay. So we take that because we want guaranteed land drops to have the Mycospawn. So we just go Ugin's Lab into Talisman pretty easily. And they go just Amp Raptor into Static Prison again, which is so depressing because, again, there's our turn 2 ring gone. So now we're lucky that we're happy that we took the Forest. But now we just go Forest go, no plays. So that just like really saved them there. And they have so much energy, so... they're not going to be giving us that back anytime soon. And they just go Flooded Strand into Ocelot Pride into Ajani. So their curve is just disgusting. We draw Utopia Sprawl, which isn't the greatest, because then we just have to put this on red, hoping for a Kozilek's return, and just pass the turn. So they play another Ocelot Pride. They're just like popping off here. We'll skip through that. They attack. They make a bunch of... oh, they play Flage. They kill a cat, which flips Ajani. And then they 0 ping us, and then they just make a million spawn tokens. So we're just thinking we're dead. But then we top deck this. We top deck Kozilek's Return. So now we have to think, do we Kozilek's Return? Like looking back and knowing what I did, I should have waited on this. So I think we just cast this now. Because I think I'm undecided between casting the One Ring or casting Kozilek's Return. And I decided to cast Kozilek's Return because I'm afraid of Ajani, but I shouldn't be. We can always wait. So the opponent would most likely attack, and then we do it anyway. So it doesn't really matter if they go to 0, then we do it in response. But I think I was worried about their +2. We could do it in response to that, and either way that wouldn't matter because it would still kill everything. So I think playing the One Ring there would have been better because they would have committed to the board more. They still have Ajani. I'm not sure though. You guys let me know what you would have done in that situation. That's kind of awkward there. So they bring back Flage. That's another thing. Us doing that main phase, which they would do it anyway, but it let them bring back Flage. But we would do that when they'd attack, and they'd still bring it back on main phase too. So they bring back Flage. They make a cat, ping us down to 3. There's no way we're winning. We have so many rings. So we just chain a bunch of rings together, even though like it's not going to save us. They give us back the Talisman. They take a ring. They take Utopia Sprawl. So now we're just stuck on mana. And we're just kind of going through the motions here. We definitely lost, but I just wanted to see what would happen. But we play another ring. We wait. They're just plussing Ajani. They're attacking themselves with Flage, giving themselves life. So they can ultimate Ajani whenever they want. And then we're just going through it. We draw with the One Ring, play another ring. There's no way we're getting out of this though, right? We're at 2 life. We play another ring. Their board is insane. Again, going through the motions. If they didn't have Ajani and we could top deck Kozilek's Return, maybe we'd have a shot. They even like pitched a Blood Moon. They're just so far ahead. They're at 31 life. They have the One Ring active. I think we draw and then just concede. Yeah. So we draw just to see, and then we just concede. So we knew we were dead for like the last couple turns, but we just wanted to see what would happen. So I don't think we would have won that even sequencing the Kozilek's Return differently, but I'm not 1,000,000% sure. I don't know. All right, now we're down to game 3 of match 5. This is for the trophy. And because we're on the play, we brought in the Trinispheres and we boarded out more Rumbles. Yeah, so I guess we just boarded out 2 more Rumbles for a Trinisphere. So we have a total of 4 Kozilek's Returns and 3 Trinispheres on the play. On the draw, you could probably omit the Trinispheres just because it's kind of like an awkward draw. And maybe you can have it on turn 2, but it depends. So we're on the play this time. So we have this hand, which, again, it's one of those like trap hands where you have the Temple, you have the Ugin's Lab. You really want to keep this hand, but it does nothing. So like turn 1, Temple, turn 2, Rumble, into like turn 3 Trinisphere is way too slow. So I think we mulligan this one. So now we're on 6. We have this hand. We do have the Devour, Impulse. We don't have any fast mana. So what do we do here? We mulligan this one as well. So we're actually mulliganing very diligently, very responsibly, I'd say. But then we mulligan into this hand, which is also garbage. So instantly I'm thinking, of course, game 3, match 5, we just mulligan into just like garbage. So we have to keep this. We're not going to mulligan any lower. And I think we put back Forest Shifting. Yeah, we put back Forest Shifting, hoping to just kind of ramp into the One Ring and kind of draw ourselves out of it. So this is our win con right now. So we just go Temple Go. Feels bad. No Kozilek's Return, no Trinisphere. So they start off with the Guide of Souls, which is pretty good for them. And I think we just go Forest into Talisman. We draw the Ugin's Lab, which is a land, but we don't have a 7-drop. And they go land. They go Surveil Land, which is nice. So it's a little slower. Now we're a little worried. We draw the Temple, which is enough mana for the One Ring. So easy One Ring, draw Rumble. Still not looking too good. I think if they go get a Plains here, I think they play Blood Moon again. Which, like, again, you're thinking, of course, they have Blood Moon. But we have Talisman, we have Forest. We're not too upset. This means they're not being aggressive, which is fine for now. And we have the inactive One Ring, so we have that. We draw Hedge Maze, which is just another mountain. And we draw Sowing Mycospawn. So now we're looking to kick. We're looking to ramp right now. We're looking to, I think, Rumble here, right? Yeah, we Rumble. We're looking to kick Mycospawn. We're looking for World Breaker. So we're ramping for World Breaker. Definitely take that. Easy take. And then we just pass the turn. So now we have kick Mycospawn. We have Hardcast World Breaker. And then what do? They Static Prison the One Ring, and they play Ocelot Pride. So this is actually a pretty funny thing. So because Blood Moon isn't the greatest against our deck, it slows us down definitely, but we're going to cast World Breaker. And now you guys can decide, do you take Blood Moon or do you take Static Prison? You already know what I'm taking. We take Static Prison. Blood Moon, they have their double white, double red sources, so they're not locked out of anything. We already have all this mana, and we want more payoffs. So we're going to take the Static Prism, and now we can draw more cards here. We draw a Misty, and then we just pass the turn. So Devour can also kill Blood Moon. They play another land. Oh, this was the other thing. I remember the other opponent attacked in, but they don't realize that this has reach. So they attack. I'm thinking that they're going to use like Galv Blast or something post-combat. But we get a free block here, so that's a mistake by our opponent. So they just throw that away, which is huge for us. So now they can't gain energy. It just slows them down a little bit. We untap with the One Ring again. And then we draw All Is Dust, which is just like insult to injury. I think we just... Did we hardcast that? Or do we cast Devour? What do we do? Yeah, we cast Devour. I think we save All Is Dust, like, just in case. Because we're going to eat the Blood Moon here, I think. Yeah. It wouldn't be wrong to eat this as well. But now we just have like 2 huge threats on the battlefield. We get in for 5 here. They don't block, and then they just concede. So we were able to pull that through, just making our land drops, Blood Moon not being the most effective, and we got there. All right, so that concludes our league replay. We got the 5-0. The deck was able to perform very well, and we were able to overwhelm our opponents with huge spaghetti monsters. I hope you guys enjoyed this different type of content from me. If you did, I would love to hear all about it in the comment section down below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.